And we're back diving in to the Doctor Who controversy because the World Health Organization is another one. It's like the Global Monetary Fund. It's like the UN. I distrust profoundly all of those entities. I was talking earlier, but I got distracted. I can't say I was distracted by anything you said. I distracted myself, actually, talking about various things. But I was talking about Philadelphia. I was in Philadelphia where the Constitutional Hall is, and I got off on how Philadelphia's become so corrupt. But let me rewind the tape. In Philadelphia at the Constitutional Hall, they have a powerful, gigantic piece of kind of like mechanical art, which is for students. And it's so instructive. Imagine this massive architectural recreation of the Capitol, where the legislators meet, the executive branch over here, where the president is hanging out, and then the Supreme Court over here, where the courts of the lands are. Now watch what happens. When you push down, boom, on legislation, boom, what comes up? It's the executive branch of the Supreme Court. There's your checks and balances. When you push down with the executive branch, boom, it's the Supreme Court and the legislative go. If the legislator and the executive branch push down, boom, the Supreme Court could possibly come up and say, hold on now. You're violating a fundamental protection of the Constitution. Remember, the Supreme Court isn't there to decide whether what month a baby can be terminated, if a man can marry a man. We've given those powers to the court way beyond the founders' vision, because the founders said, hey, you can't legislate those things. The states are going to have to debate them, and if the states put electors up there that vote in line with what they believe, then you have legislation. But you can't go to the court to bypass the difficult business of debating something, which is what lazy Americans are doing in public. They don't want to lose elections, so they don't want to comment on the economy, on who's going to get cut from entitlements, on what to do with the border. So they kick the can up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court is now saying, during the era of Justice Roberts, catch this, no, we're going to send it back to the states. If there is widespread populist upheaval, if 60 or 70% of Americans don't want something, we're not going to legislate that which is not wanted by, it's government by the people, not government by the legislator or litigation. So in Philadelphia, you get this lesson. You push down one, you see checks and balances, people. I'm talking about the founders knew mankind is fallen. Therefore, if he's fallen, you have to think about the sin capacity, the selfishness of humanity. And you got to check that. That's why you lock the door at night. That's why you've got keys in the keychain. That's why you have codes to get into your phone. Don't be naive. You do those things not because you don't trust your spouse or your kids. It's because you don't trust the people you don't know. Somebody's trying to get at your money, get at your home, and get at your life. So, Mercedes.
I was going to say one thing. I think it's really interesting. So I went on that trip, I think with you and Annabelle. We went to Philadelphia to go see our good friend Nancy Hansen, who was putting on a big event up there. And we got to do this tour, and we got to go see the Liberty Bell. And it was an interesting, I think it's a prophetic word. I don't know if you're going to be able to summarize it or even remember it. But you had made this you're like the passive prophet. And so you made this throwaway comment, and you said, you know, it would be it was like a prophetic thing with the Liberty Bell because of the crack in it, that it would be the Supreme Court that would ultimately lead to the destruction of America. Do you remember that? Do you remember saying that at all?
No, but I do have those moments of lucid.
Well,
prophetic.
It was because it was the whole story about the Liberty Bell, where it's like they had hung it and they like melted it, hung it, and then it cracked.
Yeah,
when they installed a Supreme Court justice, then they remelted it, did it again, and it cracked. And they just got to the point where we're like, well, we're just going to leave it cracked.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
and they rang it actually over. I think it was over an announcement. It had to do with the court, and it cracked right then, which was the timing of it was over the court. Yeah, the day that the court becomes the tool of progressives to force speech codes, to force guns out of your hands, to force you to bow the knee to a vaccination that is dangerous or that will track you, that's the day when you'll see civil war hit the United States at a different level. Right now, it's being worked in words and institutions, but you can reach a point where only where passive people will passively just comply, and there'll be people that'll realize, no, I'm not going to go there. You're not going to make me violate my conscience. So we're not at that point now, but the left is there all the time. They're ready to riot and burn and loot, intimidate, and destroy all the time. That's why I have no sympathy for Christians to support the Democratic Party. I have no sympathy for Christians that do not vote. And I have no sympathy for the saps that think the Republicans are watching out for their best interest. I am a true populist. I distrust both parties and believe the only way you get elected officials to do what you want is when you run yourself, you run the people that share your beliefs, and you work vigorously to police out of power those that do not govern based on the consent of an educated, informed, and enlightened constituency. America still has the capacity to correct the course. Now, the guy that's in charge of the WHO, to be very specific, this guy, his name is Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus. I think they pick people with names like this because no one can say them. But so everyone calls him Tedros because it's the only part an American can get down right. Tedros. So Tedros gets to serve like the premier of China for 5 years. That's dumb. He should be like a 36-month position. But it's 5 years because 5 years is way too long. And he just got reassigned to another 5 years. You know what Donald Trump was doing? Donald Trump was saying, I'm going to just defund it. I'm going to defund this stupid thing. And all the liberals and the Republicans and the swamp creatures and the globalists all freaked out. No! And so they were outraged with Trump because we put like more money in than anybody else. But we don't have any influence over who goes in as the president, evidently, because this guy is the hand-picked guy of President Xi because he covers for China. When China had the leak in the Wuhan lab, he said, no, this guy lied. When China didn't come forth with data, and that could have saved many lives by saying, all right, here's the sequence of the structure of the disease itself. They destroyed the information because they did it in a bio lab, a weapons lab. This guy goes, well, they're cooperating and they're really exemplary in how they're working. In other words, the guy might as well work for the Communist Party of China, and he wants to control your freedom as an American. What makes it even worse is Javier. You know, I watch those Soros-backed guys that are in government right now. The committee that's working with them are the Soros-backed globalists. And these are the guys in government. Javier, what's his name? I got a picture of him today. These guys, I've been watching them for years. He was in California, made his way to Washington. He's dangerous. He is dangerous like Haman in the Bible. So when I see these guys are the delegates working, I got all my alarms are going off, and I'm saying, all right, keep an eye on this. Anyway, I have in my limited capacity as a host at this desk, I can only tell you that I believe that November is going to be a crushing referendum on all these initiatives. So do not needlessly freak out. They're going to vote this thing in before the midterms. I know that.
Don't go anywhere. You're going to miss it. The whole podcast is over on lancewallnau.com/podcast. This is just an excerpt. Go watch the full thing. Click the link in the description. It'll take you right there. You know, everybody talks about being prepared. What happens when the bubble bursts? What happens when the dollar collapses? Are you ready? Are you prepared? Do you have emergency food kits? Do you have gold and silver? I want to talk to you about something you might not have heard of yet, and it's called hydroponic gardening. And it is one of the coolest things I have secretly fallen in love with over the last 8 to 9 months. I have an entire gardening system, and let me tell you what, it's enough food not to just feed my family, but to feed my neighbors. I have 36 different types of plants growing in this thing. I have lettuce, I have beans, I have strawberries. I have so many different things, and it's just one more tool in my arsenal to making sure that I'm ready to take care of my family and my friends friends and my neighbors if need be. And so I want to tell you about it. It's this really cool system. It's called Let Us Grow. And if you're interested in finding out more and finding out how you can have one of these, it grows vertically. It's a hydroponic garden. You might not even know what that means. It's an entire system where it's just water-based. There isn't a ton of dirt. You don't have to worry about bugs and pests or anything like that because you can actually do this in your home, which means you can grow plants year round. It's so cool. I just did it through the entire fall and winter. And like I said, I have just had such abundance with it. So I want you to check it out. You can go to lancewallnau.com/garden and get all of the details on the Let Us Grow system. And be sure you stay tuned because I just put one together for the office and it took me less than 10 minutes to put the entire system together, and it just snaps together. You fill it up with water, you give the plants their nutrients. 30 minutes per week is all you're looking at for maintenance. So I'm telling you, go check it out. I'm going to have before and afters on the screen when I'm talking about this so you can see the type of abundance I'm talking about. Be prepared. Go to lancewallnau.com/garden to find out more.